Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Monday night live stream. Hope everybody's well. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. Apologies, we don't really have a specific topic tonight, but this weekend was my wife's 40th birthday. Well, actually, it wasn't. Our birthday's in a few weeks' time, but she had a weekend away with the girls. So I had my youngest son and my older two sons were staying over as well. So I kind of had a hands full with the kids on my own weekend, which kind of took away the free time I normally have to get stuff set up. And then today's just been one of them crazy days. So when I did finally get the chance to kind of set up all the streaming stuff and all the bits and pieces and rig up all of the equipment as well, because as you can see, I'm not in the studio today because my wife's away with work. And by the time I had to do all that, I kind of come sliding across the line on my knees. So tonight is one of those kind of random ramble conversations that we sometimes have. So basically, we'll chat about whatever you want to chat about tonight. If you want to ask me any specific questions, please do just kind of at BlackJack Legacy in the chat, and that'll highlight it up so I can see those particular ones. If you guys are having a bit of a conversation in there, if you've got any games that you want to kind of talk about, I'm sure I'll find stuff to talk about, but it makes it much easier if you folks all kind of get interactive. That's what I'm saying. So we will start this evening with, let's go back into the chat and see who we've got tonight. So going back to around 7 p.m. tonight, I know there was more before that, but they seem to have kind of dropped off my system. So yeah, we had Scott Long within earlier on, asking what we're talking about tonight. Hello, Scott. KK was in as well. Daniel Engel was in as well. He says, have a fantastic chat today. Got to work through, but we'll listen tonight. Thank you, Daniel. I hope it works okay for you this evening. Al Krabby was in nice and early as well, saying evening everyone. Hope everyone's had a good weekend. Painting tonight after a bit of green stuff work and some basing. Al, your Raven Guard stuff, mate, is looking truly fantastic. It's good to see you getting some games in with them at the weekend as well, mate. David Moffat was in as well earlier on. He's saying he had time to upload a video before the show. I hope you got that done, mate. Timbo Clev was in as well. Hello, he says. Steve Evans in, getting excited now. Only 4 days to go to Franticon. What are you playing in, Steve? I assume you're playing in the Dread Ball on, is it normally Saturday night? Let me know what you're playing and let me know what factions you're playing. We've got the legend that is Christian Reeves. Hello, fella. Saying, hope everyone had a great weekend. Thank you, Christian, for coming in and moderating the chat again for me tonight. Mark Bericlot's in. He's saying it's freezing in Bracknell. His boiler broke last Thursday, so no hot water or heating. Oh, bloody hell, mate. At this time as well, it's with snow and wind and stuff. We had a bit of a power cut during the night last night. So my little boy sleeps with a night light on. It's kind of like a kind of a red colour. So when he wakes up, it's not too bright, but at least he can see. And he woke up screaming during the night. And when I went to get him and I opened his door, it was just pitch black, and he was standing behind the door. I almost kind of squashed him, opening the door into his bedroom to see where he was. So I had to kind of bring him into the bed with me last night. So as you can imagine, with a 3-year-old in the bed, the sleep was a little bit broken last night. But yeah, I was expecting to get up for work this morning and have no shower on and not be able to get a hot shower, not be able to kind of iron clothes, all that kind of stuff. But it seemed to come back on about 6 o'clock, I think it was. So all was saved. But yeah, I pity you, mate, with no boiler. Barry Kleiber's in as well. He says, how's everyone and having a good start to the week? Work was absolutely garbage, mate. I'll be perfectly honest. I had a nightmare of a day, but I'm here with you lot now, so it's getting better, isn't it? Thomas is in. Good evening, Thomas. Mark and Tim were having a bit of a chat there. We've got Jean in saying hello to everyone. Palmsy's in as well. Nice to see you, fella. Joss Vermeulen is in. Chris Palumbo, nice to see you, mate. He's saying he wants to try out Middle Earth SBG. Hasn't gotten around to it yet, and he invests in too many miniature games as it is. Don't we all, sir? Don't we all? Tony Boo, the Leiden's in saying, yeah, I'm early. I think you scraped in, didn't you, mate? Yeah, 4 minutes before 9 you came in. Mark Coxey's in as well. Peter Nicholas is in. Peter was in earlier on, and he was the name I remember seeing earlier on tonight. Blizzards is in. He's saying the caffeine levels are low, so he's going to coffee himself. I drink way too much coffee normally, and for the last 3 weeks now, I haven't had 1 cup of coffee. I can't decide if I'm feeling any better for it, but yeah, I kind of went cold turkey and completely cut out caffeine. I've been drinking a bit of green tea, loads of loads of water. I'm on the water tonight. Trying to be a bit more healthy. As my lifestyle's changing, the more time I'm going to start spending indoors in front of a camera, not really getting out much. I'm trying to make the most of trying to get to the gym in the morning and eat healthier, ready for a very kind of stationary career, if you like, in the future. Glenn Griffin's in, saying evening BlackJackers. Hello, Glenn. Busey's in as well, saying stay safe, stay coronavirus free. Yeah, I won't go into that one too much, but I must say I did notice that British Airways are starting to cancel a few flights now, and they've cancelled some flights from Heathrow to New York. So I'm starting to get a bit nervous about my flights from Heathrow to Chicago, hoping that Adepticon in a few weeks I still manage to get there. I hope this doesn't kind of, this one chance I got to go, I hope it doesn't kind of cancel it. Richard Smith's in. He says, even guys, just listen to Andy on Paint All the Minis podcast, which I've just discovered very entertaining. It's a fantastic podcast, mate. I've done about 3 or 4 podcast episodes on different things now. I've done one on Combined Arms podcast, which is a very good podcast. They do a mixture of lots of different miniature games. I've done the Paint All the Minis podcast. I've also done Countercharge twice as well, which is predominantly Kings of War with a little bit of Vanguard sprinkled in there. But yeah, if you're looking for a podcast to listen to, I can recommend those 3. David Moffat says, I've been thinking about having more coffee. I think I used to probably drink about 5 or 6 cups a day. And it got to a point where if I didn't have a cup of coffee, like maybe by lunchtime the next day, I was starting to get headaches and withdrawal symptoms and stuff. I think I was drinking a bit too much. Scott Longworth says, evening, mate. Hello, Scott. How are you doing, fella? I saw all the stuff that you were posting into... Is it the guys with the Vanguard, the local guys posting all of your I can't remember what game it was, bolt action or that kind of stuff that was in there, mate. It looked awesome. Rui Luis is in as well. Good evening, Rui. Kieran Burns in, saying, here's a question. What game you used to play that you don't anymore and why? Or one you'd like to get back into? Oh, that is a good question, mate. That is a good question. I would say... Which ones would I say? I think Vanguard is probably one of them, because I played quite a bit of it and I seem to have drifted away from it a bit. For no other reason than kind of Warcry took up a bit of my time. It kind of filled that kind of fantasy skirmish game kind of niche for a little while. I do intend to get back and playing it. It's as I went through in the video a few weeks ago about Vanguard versus Warcry. They're very different games. They scratch different itches, and I think Vanguard's potentially the deeper one of the two. However, I would say Warcry's potentially the more fun, with it being a lot kind of faster paced, and I can play like sort of 2 or 3 games in an evening. Anything else that I would like to get back? I'll be honest, I think Code 1 for Infinity is really, really tempting me to kind of dip my toe back in to Infinity. I've tried to get into it in the past. I've got a couple of those kind of intro sets. I think I've got which ones have I got? I've got the Operation Ice Storm, and I forget what the other one's called. I've got another one as well. But I've played both of them. I really quite enjoy it. But then there's such a big jump from those starter sets up into kind of the full rule sets. And it's not the kind of game I felt I could play kind of casually. Where I think Code 1 might be that nice little sweet spot. So yeah, I'm looking forward to finding out more about that. Bloggy's in as well, saying, hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Hello, Bloggy. Nice to see you putting some videos out this week as well, mate. Timbo saying Space Hulk. I think I've only played Space Hulk maybe 2 or 3 times. I'm actually considering selling it. I'll just duck from all of the tomatoes that's been thrown there. I'm considering selling my copy of Space Hulk. Robert Fennelson's in as well. He says, yo, what's good, everyone? Nice to see you, mate. Mark saying, let's get randomly ready to ramble. I'm not even going to try and shout that like, what's he called? Buffer. Bruce Buffer, isn't it? Yeah. Bruce Patnood's in as well. It says, hey all, VJ's in. Good morning to you, VJ. Dice Tales is in as well. Hello, Mark. He says, hi peeps. Plan the game of Dragon Rampant tomorrow. Have you played that before, Mark, or is this a first time of playing? Claudio's in. Nice to see you in, fellow, as well. Duffy Makowski's in. It's in from a very mild Levittown. Did I pronounce that right? Levittown. Glenn says, looks like Duncan Rhodes Painting Academy channel is... Oh, there's Siri over there just chuntering away. Let me just hang on a second. Cancel. There's nothing to cancel, apparently. Glenn says, looks like Duncan Rhodes Painting Academy channel is on its way. Yes, he rocketed up to about 30,000 subscribers without putting the video out. I think if anybody's seen the information he's been posting about it, he's actually he's gone into this with the guy that he used to work with at Games Workshop as well, so I can only assume the two of them left at the same time to go into this venture. My guess would be there's potentially some kind of back end. It's obviously going to be some kind of it's going to be successful, let's be honest. The Games Workshop videos were successful, and that wasn't because they were Games Workshop, it was because it was kind of Duncan doing Games Workshop stuff. It'll be interesting to see the kind of views that his videos get when they're not Games Workshop stuff. Just as a comparison, so when he paints a Space Marine, for example, versus when he paints a Star Wars Legion miniature. It'll be interesting just because that's I think it will that'll tell just kind of how successful he can be, I think. But yeah, all power to him. Best of luck to Duncan. Not that he needs my blessing, but anybody that kind of tries to sort of follow their heart, follow their dreams, and trying to do something a bit different. We live in a very different kind of day and age now, where essentially, in the past, people try to do YouTube to get rich. And they always had this idea of being millions of subscribers and being millionaires and driving a Ferrari and stuff. It's very different now. You can do YouTube with kind of some seriousness about it and make it like a sort of a minimum wage kind of thing, but something that you absolutely love doing. So why not do that rather than kind of working a job that you absolutely hate? So yep, all power to him. Really, really pleased he's kind of starting to kick that off now. Bruce is saying it's 3 p.m. in Dallas, Texas. David says, Andy, why did I randomly come down to Death Guard fever? Is Blizzard's to blame? I think he's been coughing and spluttering in the Patreon chat, mate. You got to watch out for that one. VJ says, is there anything worse than getting sick when you have deadlines to deal with? Oh, tell me about it, mate. I'm quite fortunate. I don't get sick very often. My immune system seems pretty strong. I get a cold now and again and stuff, but I very rarely seem to get ill. But yeah, when you've got a deadline or something like that, it's just you can't even find the energy to drag yourself out. Scott's saying, just played Chronicles of Crime thanks to one of the previous live streams. Did you enjoy it, mate? If anybody is interested in Chronicles of Crime, the new Kickstarter went live, was it yesterday, I think it was, which is 3 new standalone games to the Chronicles of Crime. And I think they're basically, one's in the 1800s, one's in the 1900s, and one's in the sort of, is it like 2097 or something like that in the future. They look really interesting. Rob Farnelson saying, first Infinity Code 1 info out today, starting to get amped for it. Yeah, I saw that on the Mayacast on their Facebook page. Loads of information telling you that you get your 14 miniatures inside there. Yu Jing and Pano, am I guessing that? Have I got that right? I can't remember now. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing those minis. I'm also looking forward to seeing exactly what those Code 1 rules are. And I hope that what I want is something a bit more substantial than the starter boxes, the kind of intro boxes, but something much more casual that I can drift in and out of. This week I've been looking at Infinity Terrain to try and see how apart from that card terrain, which actually isn't too bad, but is obviously going to kind of get knocked around on the board. I've been looking to see what the cheapest way to get a decent table of Infinity Terrain would be. I'm assuming it'll probably play on a smaller play area. It wouldn't surprise me if it plays on that kind of Kill Team Warcry board size that you get with the paper mats. But it's going to be interesting. I have an interview with Bostria or Carlos from Infinity, from Corvus Belli rather, when I get out into Adepticon. Really looking forward to going and spending some time with them and getting the lowdown on Code 1. And of course from that, N4 as well. Simon Morton's in. Good evening, Simon. How are you doing? Robert Zung saying, how's everyone? Nice to see you, Robert. I hope your wife's not missing you too much from the gardening. Where's my chat just gone? Jumped off the top of my screen as always. Here we are, we're back. Scott saying, is there much of a scene for Guild Ball around our area, Andy? There never really has been in the Northeast, mate. Huge in Leeds area, huge in Manchester area. Been absolutely nothing around Northeast. I bought a couple of Guild Ball teams a while ago. I've got I've got a fisherman team, and I've also got a brewers team, and then I bought the kickoff starter set as well. So I've got Masons, I think's in there. So yeah, I quite was looking forward to trying to pick up some casual games, but it was absolutely dead in the Northeast, mate. Bruce was just asking there, where's the info for Code 1? If you check out the MayaCast Facebook page, or actually if you also go to my Facebook group, I think Robert also posted it there as well, so you'll be able to check it out there. Dice Tales is saying, slowly being more info on the new Skyrim game this week. It's not something that really interests me, if I'm perfectly honest. I'm not a huge Skyrim kind of player. I've played the game and I enjoyed it, but it's not something where I've kind of fallen in love with it. I think this is me in fantasy again. I skirt around the edges of fantasy, I think. And the miniatures are just like, I mean, they're very nice miniatures, but there's nothing kind of iconic, if you like. There's other games I think I like the miniatures better, so Skyrim's potentially something I probably won't spend any money on. Adam Edgar's in as well. Hello, fella. How are you doing? Thomas is saying, we just started planning our trip to Mantic HQ in April. That's about €400 with no chance of bringing our own armies due to luggage restrictions on the flight. What a mess. Is that right? You won't be able to bring armies at all, and €400. To be honest, with everything that's happening at the minute with coronavirus and flights getting cancelled and stuff like that, I think you hang around. You might actually find that you get some good flight details. The flights I booked to go to Adepticon, I think cost me like sort of £391 or something, and then from there it rocketed up and it went over nearly £600, and in the last few days they've plummeted back down again to kind of sub 500. Because I think there's a lot of people that are choosing just not to fly at the moment. So, where Steve's saying he's Dreadball Friday and Saturday evening with a corporation team, Dead Zone singles on Saturday with a Plague, and finally Kings of War singles on Sunday with the Herd. How do you? I've not taken part in a weekend like that, like with lots of tournaments like that. How does your brain cope with kind of switching and changing between rules of games like that? Do you find that is it just because you know the games inside out? Is it because they're Mantic games and they tend to be a little bit more straightforward? Or do you just have one of those brains that can handle that amount of rules for different games? Do you not get like kind of I mean, Dreadball maybe not so much, but do you get confused with certain kind of rules from different games? Peter saying, anyone book flights for holidays, get your travel insurance quick in case it gets cancelled. Yeah, I did that recently. Just went and got my travel insurance sorted out. If it gets cancelled, the airline will give you the cash back. If the flight gets cancelled, and if your holiday gets cancelled, the holiday company should give you the money back. What you're not insured for, and we're not even talking miniatures now. What you'll not be insured for is if you choose not to fly because you're a bit worried about coronavirus or something like that. Then you've lost your money regardless, I think. Tim Kelly's in. Nice to see you, Tim. Oh, I've jumped well down the chat there. White Rabbit Scribe. He's saying, good evening all. Finally made it to a live chat. Love these Monday night videos. Thank you, White Rabbit Scribe. Nice to have you in. Not a name I recognise. Maybe it's a bit of a pseudonym of somebody I already know. I don't know. Skullmunch is in. That's what I was about to say. Hello, mate. How are you doing? Lee Russ is in. He said he's late. Been tidying up a mammoth RPG session yesterday. Nice, mate. What's your RPG? Is it a Star Wars one that you're still doing? Is that the one that you're doing? It's funny when you kind of get like, so obviously I listen to your podcast, so then I listen to some of the stuff that you're doing, and then when you mention it here, it's like I've been chatting to you about it, and I almost want to kind of enter into a conversation. It's kind of it's weird when I do that kind of stuff. Blizzard saying I drink between 6 and 8 cups a day coffee. Yeah, I think I like really strong coffee as well. I just like the taste of it, and I think that's not doing me any favours. Tim Kelly saying, all right, Andy, hey folks. Where we are. Derek Hodges in. Good evening, Derek. How are you doing? Barry's got that stunned face in Space Hulk rocks. I just never get it to the table. I've been meaning to try and get more games done, like of the stuff that's lying on my shelves that I never have time to play. And I just keep wondering, is Space Hulk going to be one of those games that I get at the table? Or am I better off just selling it to somebody who'll get some love from it? Timbo is saying, I'll have your Space Hulk Patreon discount. I've been looking on eBay to see how much they go for, to be fair, mate. Where are we at? Peter says, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Space Hulk. High praise indeed, mate. It's a bit like me with Hero Quest. Although I've got something up my sleeve for Hero Quest. Not to make, well, maybe a video, but something along the lines of when the Patreon grows to 100 Patreons, which I know is going to be some time away, but hopefully one day it gets there. When I get to 100 Patreons, I'm considering giving away my copy of Hero Quest. Yes. And what I'll probably do is between now and then, I'll paint it all up. So it would be a fully painted copy of Hero Quest plus 2 expansions. So that's what, at the bottom of my mind, I mentioned something briefly in our Patreon chat. But yeah, I think I said I didn't mention what it was, but I said I think I have a good idea for 100. And it's one of those things where it means a lot to me. It's probably not worth a fortune, really, like to kind of just to sell it, but actually to paint it up and to give it away to one of the Patreons, I think will be a fitting way to kind of for that to see the table again, I think. Let's have a look. Let's just jump off the top of my screen again. You might be able to tell, actually, I've got a new stand for my monitor as well, which is one of those monitor stands so that it keeps the monitor really low. Normally, I've got my laptop and I'm doing this looking down on it, so I'm trying to improve with each week. Palmsy's saying, will be interesting to see what Duncan does when he doesn't have to recommend 104 paints. I think he'll still use plenty of paints, mate. Most painting channels still use loads of paints, to be fair. Stotty's Man Cave's in as well. He says Duncan will probably boost sales of all other non-GW companies. I think he might open a few eyes to them, but I think we'll see. Let's just say we'll see. I'm not going to slay them. The guy hasn't made a video yet, but it'll be interesting. All I'm thinking is that basically I've seen people branch out before, and it never. Like, I don't think he's going to hit like. Let's just see what he does. Richard Smith says, any tips on getting a small club up and running? I live in a tiny town, 7,000 population, and FLGS is trying to get off the ground as a GW supplier and struggling. I think, first of all, you've got to understand where is the market for it. It's a small club. It's a small town, sorry. You've got to run event days. You've got to run demo days. You've got to just keep plugging away. You've got to try and pounce on people when they come in the shop. You've got to do giveaways as a store and try and entice people in. Give people a reason to come to the store, even if it's free tea and coffee when you play there or something like that, or free soft drinks, anything just to get people into the store for a while. And then eventually you'll find out what people want to play and start the club from there. I think it's difficult, isn't it? But as a business owner who owns the store, I think that there's an element of kind of they have a duty, I think, to try and kick that off, and then maybe some kind of people like yourself can kind of keep it up and running from that point. But you've got to get people to know the store's there, and you've got to get people to come to the store. Stephen Burriess is in as well. He says, howdy from Nashville. First time finally getting to watch live. We've got a few kind of first timers in tonight, which is quite nice. Always nice to see some first timers in, especially when we're having just a bit of a ramble tonight as well. And I do apologise for that, but I know some folks like that kind of just a bit of ramble and stuff, but they're not. These videos never do well for kind of like people just tuning in down the line. It's fun to chat in them. It's probably less fun for somebody just to sit and watch it. Blizzard saying Nurgle gonna get you. Chris is saying you could try introducing people to one or two of GW's board games. Might be a bit easier. I think it's one thing. It's one thing, how do you start a club? It's another thing, how do you start a club with people who don't play games at all? That's a very different kind of thing, I think. Scott saying he enjoyed it, and so did the wife. Yeah, my wife enjoyed it as well, mate. I thought that's why I think kind of it's the kind of game that bridges that gap. If if your wife or if your partner or whatever kind of likes playing kind of apps on the phone and stuff, I think it's a nice little bridging mechanic. Robert says it's supposed to be the paper mats that come with the terrain sets. Yes, I think it is the paper mats that come with it, mate. So size-wise, I think that's what we're talking about there, isn't it? Which would be perfect. I'll seeing some cool MDF sci-fi stuff out there with Fit Infinity. Yeah, I've been looking all over the place. So like TT Combat's got some good stuff, but then you've got to kind of go and paint it all and build it up first. There's some kind of pre-built stuff. There's some really good like plastic card stuff as well. You need a lot of terrain for Infinity. So getting it done cheaply and being able to store it away as well is key, I think, for that. David's just saying there, he picked up some the Plastcraft stuff. I looked at that because it's all kind of pre-coloured and stuff, isn't it, as well? And they seem to be holding up well. They're not as easy to get in the UK, I don't think. Christian saying T-shirts, get your T-shirts or hoodies here. Thank you, Christian. Yes, and if anybody is a Patreon as well, don't forget to look. In Patreon, you do get a discount as well in the Teespring store. Scott saying for Infinity Terrain, why not try using Dead Zone Terrain? I'd looked at that as well, to be fair. I was considering picking up some Dead Zone Terrain. It is quite sort of it ends up being very similar. It's very just square a little bit, the Dead Zone stuff. But I did think about if I pick up some Dead Zone Terrain, it's multi-purpose. I can use it for Dead Zone. I can use it for Infinity. I can even use it for kind of like 40k kill team stuff. Because what I'm trying to do is, so as the channel goes forward in the future, and this becomes kind of full time and stuff, I'm busy getting the gaming area where I will film some gaming stuff, because I'm going to try and do some battle reports as well, because I think it's when I've got time on my hands, it'll be a bit different. So I'm trying to build up the kind of stock of things like terrain, stuff that I can multi-purpose between different games. That's more important because I'm not going to be able to build and paint it fast kind of thing. So what you'll see between now and that point is me trying to kind of pull a lot of things together so that I can kind of hit the ground running at that point. So yeah, I think Dead Zone Terrain is not a bad shout actually, mate. John Kellogg's in as well. Hello, John. How are you doing, mate? He said he's made it. He's on his way home from vacation with his wife. Linda's first time listening. Hello, Linda. Thank you very much for tuning in. I bet you didn't expect to have to listen to this, did you? VJ saying he's pretty excited for the release of Blitzball Season 2. So then, VJ, do we know, is Season 2, is it an add-on for Season 1? Can you just dive in and buy Season 2 and play straight from there? Because that would be interesting if you can just kind of ignore what's gone before it and just buy Blitzball Season 2 box. We've got Dirk Ignatzek. Says, evening everybody. Hello, Dirk. How are you doing? Christian saying, for Infinity, why not grab some Battle System Sci-Fi 2? Do you know what it is, mate? I'd considered that as well because I've got some of the Walking Dead, like the kind of like the urban city stuff. I'm just wondering how it... I'm kind of not wanting to keep taking it down and building it back up again. As much as I like that stuff, I want to be able to just kind of have something a bit hardware and box it up, because I'm going to end up with a bit of a collection of different stuff with like in storage. So they're going to get kind of banged around a little bit, and I'm not sure how much it'll stand up to being banged around like that. But it's definitely a consideration, mate. Glenn saying, Andy, when you go to your local game store, do people know you're a YouTuber for miniatures? How do they react to you? I think that was what it said. So my local gaming group and stuff, I've known them since I probably had like maybe 200 or 300 subscribers when I first started going to my local group. So they're like, they don't think anything. I'm just kind of, just Andy kind of thing. That's nothing. I guess I'm not that big in the grand scheme of things, really. So it's not like I'm kind of like a well-known face or anything like that. But I've been to like my local games workshop to pick up some bits and pieces, and I've been like stopped, and there was a guy that was working there was kind of like serving me with something. And this is going back maybe about a year ago now, when I did, maybe a bit longer, when I did all like the Shadespire videos, and he was kind of having a bit of a chat and stuff, and making conversation. And then I went to pay for my stuff, and he went, oh, and by the way, like really like your Shadespire videos and stuff. And I've had something similar like for Kill Team stuff when I've been in Games Workshop and stuff. I get a little bit uncomfortable with it, if I'm honest. It's like, because I like it's not normal for me for somebody to kind of know who I am and I don't know who they are. It's just kind of it's weird. I guess if I became bigger one day, maybe I might get used to it. But I never really know how to react to it, to be fair. Especially when I'm not in, like, if I'm at a convention or something like that, it's a little bit different. I kind of wear my t-shirts and I arrange to meet people and stuff. I feel probably a little bit more comfortable there. But it's when I'm somewhere I'm not expecting it. It kind of catches me off guard. Thomas is saying, let's hope so. Yeah. Kelly Caudle's in saying, lost the entire week last week to the flu, but managed to paint 2 Blitz Bowl teams and the Shattered Vault terrain for Adepticon. So then, Kelly, which Blitz Bowl teams did you paint in? Let me know which ones you painted. John Jack's in. Nice to see you, fella. He says, during the con, your brain kicks into a higher gear. The post-con brain shuts off and you can't even tie your shoes. I like when I've done... Oh, excuse me, my throat's really dry. When I've done like 2-day tournaments and I'm only doing one rule set, I can definitely feel by the end of the day my brain starts to kind of like slow down and stuff. I can only imagine trying to switch it up into a different game, like in the evening, to play something different, and then to play a different game the day after. Maybe one day I'll do it. Where we at? Al Cluley saying, evening all, hope everyone's well. Nice to see you all. Leros is saying, yep, it's a Star Wars RPG. Nice one, mate. Ape of Sigmar's in as well. He's saying, replace Space Hulk with Adeptus Titanicus. I've never played that, mate. Maybe I should get a demo of it, eh? Robert Marshall's in. Good evening, Robert Marshall. How are you doing? Peter says, correct, no refunds for being a wuss. Yes, but if the government warns people not to travel your destination, you should get your money back. I don't think you do, unless it's if they tell you not to travel, but the travel company's still going, the travel company won't reimburse you. It probably just depends on your insurance, mate, doesn't it? Tony saying the Chronicles of Crime Kickstarter goes live tomorrow. I thought it was already live. No, mate, I must have misunderstood that. I read a Facebook post and I thought it had gone live. Steve saying, yeah, never get confused with Mantic rules. They're pretty easy at basic level. I play all my games at a basic level, mate. And VJ saying, no, never give away your Hero Quest, mate. And Christian saying, don't do it. Hero Quest is a keep forever game. I just don't think that it's been laying in a box for so long. It's nice to have it, but I'd almost like to kind of to celebrate getting to like a kind of a milestone for me with kind of passing it on to another generation, if you like, or passing it on to somebody else. So potentially, I may change my mind before I get to 100, but yeah, that's what's on my mind at the minute. Timbo says I play an arm and a leg for Hero Quest, first board game I ever clapped eyes on, thanks to my brother. I don't think they sell for that much in the grand scheme of things. Like, they might sell for like £100 or something like that, but then like there's plenty of dungeon crawlers sell for £100 these days. Peter said he sold his a few years ago when nobody wanted them. Yeah, I guess now it's almost like a holy grail thing, but there's still plenty of them kicking about. They're not as kind of rare as you would imagine. Dirk said he's currently got itself salvage crew, and the rules rolled up a team, painted minis, and built a spaceship model just for the fun of it. Nice, mate. I'll just kind of get involved in it. That's the way to do it. Gene says it depends on how people branch. If they follow what they like, it should go well. If they pander to a bunch of shitty expats, it will suck ass. I have no idea what that was about. And Gene says, yes, you need positive energy to build something. You do need positive energy. You do that. Alcy and Duncan is an army painter, right? There's definitely a market for that. I think Angel Heraldez and co have the competition painting market pretty locked down, and rightly so, because they're amazing. I'm not sure Duncan is an army painter. I think he specifically did kind of entry level painting, or maybe taking you from entry level to slightly more advanced. And I think that's been missing online. But I think some of it's been missing because he had it sewn up at Games Workshop, really, to be fair. So we'll see what happens. The thing is with painting tutorials is, if you paint a Games Workshop miniature, it'll get more views than if you paint, say, a Star Wars miniature, for example. Duncan's a bit of a different one. He's already got a head start on the rest of the market, if you like. There's already people waiting to see what he does. So it'll be interesting to see just exactly what that channel ends up being about. My impression is it's going to be very similar to what they used to do. The two guys who used to do the Games Workshop stuff are doing this Duncan Road stuff. So who knows what it'll be. Vormwood is in as well, saying good evening everyone. Hello Vormwood. I'll say the battle system stuff would suit Infinity. Yeah, it probably would. I guess, like I say, just durability of it getting thrown into boxes and stuff like that. And also I'll have to kind of work out how much I need. I'm not sure what they're like for multi-level stuff, and Infinity needs some multi-level stuff. Richard saying, cheers guys, they try to get people through the door by offering 30% off all their stock, but not much moved. We'll try and encourage some demo days, maybe help run some Warcry, and they have Underworlds. And I'll say Warcry is a great entry game. I mean, when you're a new store, GW stuff, certainly from a UK perspective anyway, it's probably going to drag people in. Like if their games, if they're GW or if they're interested, they'll have heard of like 40k or whatever it is, or Warcry maybe even. It's quite hard starting from scratch. I mean, I don't know what kind of interest there was locally. Has it been a passion project for the owner, or was there kind of like a business plan behind it because there's a market for it? Are there any gaming clubs already that kind of play in, like, sort of, it's a bit different in the UK because most people don't play in stores. They kind of play in church halls and kind of gaming clubs. So when stores start up, if the store's got somewhere to play and they offer a good discount, they can normally pull in some local players because people aren't tied to a particular store, if you like. Where are we at? Daniel Engels in as well. He's in the live stream. Finally, something good on a shit day, or a shite day even. Yes, Daniel, I've had one of them days as well, mate. Nice to see you in, fella. Tim saying he's sat and opening his last Burrows and Badgers Kickstarter. Absolutely stunning minis, 2 pistol leaping for. I don't know if it was yours I saw, mate, or was it wasn't if you're still opening it. It was somebody's I saw. Maybe it was Christian's. Some of those miniatures were absolutely gorgeous. They really have knocked them out of the park. Bruce says, do you think there's room for another skirmish game? 5 units per player played in a 3x2 space. I think there's always room for a new game if that game brings something different to the market. If it's just the same old, if it's another 6x4 game, if it's another 4x4 game, they all do stuff kind of similar. I think something like you're saying, like 3x2, a little bit different, some kind of quirky mechanics, like you say, just 5 units, even like simplified rules, a bit like Warcry. I think there's space for something like that, especially in a sci-fi. David says, has it become more difficult for you folks in the UK to get stuff from Spain? Not that I've noticed, mate. Not yet, anyway. If you're referencing like Brexit and stuff like that, it's not really kicked in yet. That whole thing is just an absolute kind of shit show, to be fair. I think it will potentially get a bit more difficult. We might see prices going up, but at the minute, I personally haven't seen any real difference. When it comes to things like bringing in like night models and stuff like that, and Infinity miniatures, they were never. Infinity's not been so bad, I think. But night model stuff was always quite sort of hit and miss, where you could pick it up at the best of times. Richard saying, great game in it. Just painting up his Nighthaunt. I'm not sure what we're talking about, mate. His fourth Nighthaunt is his 4th warband, and Iron Golems. Well, obviously talking about Warcry. Where are we at? Scott says, Andy, I have 2 or 3 sets of terrain for Dead Zone if you want it, mate. It's just gathering dust. Scott, I might get in touch, mate. See how much you want for it, because it might be something I pick up in that case. If you've just got some kind of going around and you want to get rid of it. So yeah, I'll be in touch, mate, and see what you want for it. Gene's saying, have a look at some in the Infinity terrain forums. There's some good stacking terrain solutions that are excellent for versatility and storage. I've seen some of the ones, I forget which company it is, where they kind of like, they're 3 levels and they store inside each other. What I don't want to do is probably like scratch build them. I do all this YouTube stuff on my own. Time I'm spent building terrain, unless I'm going to make a video out of it, is almost dead time. If I can buy stuff and kind of cut down on time, that's sometimes the better option for me. But yeah, I'll have a look, mate, and check it out. VGC, I believe Blood Bowl Season 2 standalone. Nice one, mate. That perks up my interest. Maybe see if I can get one sent out. Christian saying you can support the channel and gain access to a private Discord group from as little as $2 a month, plus other rewards at higher levels, podcasts, mugs, and t-shirts. So yeah, if anybody is interested in supporting me on the Patreon, through Patreon, be much appreciated. The link is there in the chat. I hit 50 Patreons last week, which was a milestone for me. I've never had 50 people support me at the same time. I now don't have 50 people support me at the same time. I had a couple of, one person's basically has ended their Patreon, but that's absolutely fine. If anybody wants to just do it for 1 month, I'm always hugely appreciative of that. And we've had a couple of people's payments maybe haven't kind of gone through yet this month. They may get redone again a second time. But yeah, I'm looking forward to growing that, and that just gets me that little bit closer, and then basically you'll see a lot more stuff coming out of this channel. I'm doing. I don't want to go into it too much, but I'm doing a lot of stuff in the background. And I know I said this before, and you must think he's like a broken record, this lad. But like I say, I'm trying to fit it in amongst between family and between working away and traveling and all that kind of stuff. But what I'm trying to do is get to a point where I'm just ready just to kind of flick on that camera and then just fly off and have basically drop my. I'll get to a point where basically I'm doing it full time. I drop my little one at nursery. I've got all day to do my filming and bits and pieces and get like stuff done, content done. Pick him up on a night time, get him fed with his tea and stuff. And then I'm looking to potentially buy a decent laptop at some point so I can edit a bit more while I'm on the go. So if I'm kind of sitting downstairs while he's sitting eating food or whatever, I can be editing videos and things like that. So yeah, I'm trying to kind of get to that point. I'm trying to make it as smooth as possible from like a kind of like a process, like a streamlined process. And yeah, and that's what I'm doing in the background, all these little bits and pieces to get to that point. David says Pluscraft Games is in Spain, so should be a decent option. I always thought they were in the States, mate. Actually, I don't know why I thought they were. I don't know why I thought they were in the States. Sorry, I'll check that then, buddy. VG saying a new team's probably a bunch of new challenge cards, I'd imagine. This box is humans versus dwarfs. I've got the original, well, like I've got a couple of Blood Bowl box sets actually that I've never really used much, and they've both been humans and orcs. So yeah, if they were the same ones again, I don't think I'd probably want to pick them up. But yeah, humans and dwarfs, I think I could get away with. And Vijay saying there kind of sucks humans again, a bit of a waste of time. Just saw that. Robert saying he signed up for the local geek retreat. I have a shop in mind, and it will make my dream come true of opening my own shop. I just don't know if I'm in the right area for it. Yeah, all I would say, Robert, is definitely do the research, mate. Because I would love to open a shop at some point, potentially. But I know my area isn't the right place. It would have to be like in a city centre, really. Unless you're going to build your business based upon online stuff, then you need to be in a really good catchment area. But just kind of, I think every area can support one, but there's the right area for it. You don't want it in a little back street somewhere where people will never find it. Robert saying, I like the battle system stuff, but some of it's starting to show somewhere, but he uses it a lot. That's what I'm kind of worried over time, really, is that it's going to probably get chucked around more than actually used. That's the problem. Bit of chat there as well. Kelly's saying, finished Orcs and Undead Blitzball teams. Have my Halflings about half done also. Nice work. Noxie's in as well. Saying a bit late, but he's made it. Nice to see you, Noxie. Just jumped off the top of my chat there. I'm just going to dive back in somewhere. KK is saying, I think I'm going to end up blowing past the 750 points for March. I've got a couple of different units I've been working on, but every time I get close to finishing one, I bounce over to another. That's absolutely fine, mate. If you get to 1,000, if you get to 2,000, it doesn't make a difference. It's just, the slow growth for Kings of War is just there to try and help you along and try and kind of motivate you to keep going. That's all. Murphy Bear just says, I want to say hi. Hello there. How are you doing? Gary Hollandale's in saying, I want to play it with my kids as my parents did with me. Unfortunately, my parents hold their copy and won't relent after waiting until they kick the bucket. eBay prices are out of reach with 6 kids. Yeah, I think people expect more for them than they're actually worth. I think that's the problem. Tim saying, yeah, nice, the Highland Terrier's full of character. And Starky's saying, I agree, don't give HQ away your fond memories of it. It's clouding your judgment of others getting the same love from it you have. You'd be gutted later down. I'm not that sure I would be gutted. I'm becoming much less attached to kind of material things, if you like. I've been through this journey for the last kind of like 6 months, I think, of looking at like where I spend money and what money do I actually need to be able to kind of like live, if you like. And that's one of the reasons I've been able to get to a point where the YouTube channel being full time is actually going to become a thing, because I just physically don't need the amount of money that I used to need, if you like. And material things to me are becoming a bit less important, if I'm honest. And that's why I think the Hero Quest thing would be an awesome thing to give away, to try and generate a bit of a Patreon drive, which will makes the channel sustainable. If I sold it, I might get 100 quid for it. I might be lucky and I might get 150 quid for it. If I put it up as a giveaway and 20 people decide to pledge $5 a month, then I'm kind of like, I'll break even. I end up selling it that way. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not that sure. I'm not that sure that it's worth it to me anymore, if you like. I think I like the memories of playing it more than I like the game. I think that's what it is. Where are we gone? VJ saying, don't use the word Highland, it's giving me flashbacks to the world's worst game. I'm not sure it's the world's worst game. It's maybe in the top 10. Scott says, contrast paints killed Duncan's career. No more too thin coats. I'm not so sure, mate. I'm not so sure. I think contrast paints still, I think that I've come round to using them. I think they're a really, really good tool. But then you don't paint an entire miniature really with contrast paint. There's still an element of brush control. There's still an element of layering for other stuff. I think they're really good for speeding things up. Tony Howell says, even all finally got Mr. H version 2 to bed. Congrats, mate. Congrats. Bit of chat going on there. Richard Smith says, it's a toy shop trying to branch out. In that case, mate, you're maybe looking at like a different audience. Maybe kind of those sort of gateway type games might exactly be the kind of thing. Maybe games like Warcry, maybe games like Underworlds might be a good kind of thing. Even if it's just even things like Walking Dead, things where people like instantly see them and go, oh, that looks cool. What's that? Those are the kind of demos that might actually work. I can tell I'm catching up now when I'm seeing all the Infinity Terrain stuff catches up. Glenn saying, has anyone played Bushido? Only discovered it a while browsing mini set. It's on a second edition now, mate, and I've heard good things, but I've not played it. I'm sure somebody in the chat probably has. Pedro Farrows tell me it's the Bandau Terrain. That's the stackable one, isn't it? Yeah. Thank you, buddy. Steve's just finished painting. I'm going to put a picture on the Facebook group later. Thank you, Steve. Lee saying the 3-level stackable stuff is banned out. The Q buildings. Yeah, I think I've seen them in a couple of videos. And I think when Bostria does his Infinity videos, there's always like a mountain of terrain that's like stuck on a table with him, and I'm always kind of looking to see what it is. Excuse me. Lee saying he's got a lot of the Micro Art Studio stuff mixed in with Bandau stuff, plus some miscellaneous bits of scatter from Antonosity's workshop and custom meeple. Yeah, I think it's I think that's the kind of the names that ring a bell with me now, actually. Gene saying no scratch build, don't be a little bitch. I just tend to find it takes me too long. Like it'd be different if I was just like building it for fun, if you like. If I was getting real enjoyment from building the terrain, then that's probably something different, like maybe as a hobby thing. But when it's just to get it to the table so I can play the games and do stuff on camera and things, I kind of treat it a little bit differently, really. Maybe when I get a bit bigger, some of these companies will send me terrain, and then I can kind of advertise the kind of like, like such and such terrain used in this video kind of thing. But I think I'm way off that at the minute. King John saying, hey Andy and everyone, almost have my deliveries done and the Texas Panhandle, yeehaw. Well, drive safe, buddy, and yeah, once you get that done, kick your feet off, have a beer. Kick your feet off, kick your shoes off, have a beer, have a nice chilled night. Bit of chat. Scott says, seriously don't want anything for the terrain. I even have the 2x2 neoprene mat. Buddy, if that's fine with you, mate, that's absolutely cool. I'd be much appreciated. But obviously, no pressure. If you do want anything for it, please let me know. Christopher Warden's in, saying late at the party. How's everyone doing? Very well, thanks very much, mate. Nice to see you in. Gene saying scratch builds a time eater, and I would never recommend hand building everything. It's a great way to give your table set a distinct identity. I think what I'd like to do potentially is, like, say I buy some like TT Combat, like sort of MDF stuff. I wouldn't mind doing some kind of like adding bits to it to make it look a bit less like a wooden box. So potentially I could do something like that. There's maybe even like a bit of a video in there as well about kind of like building on MDF scenery or something. So yeah, maybe something like that, but not scratch building, I think, mate. Tony says, if I had the money, I'd run a mount in a shed style thing for mini hobbyists. Being rural, there might be interest due to us being a bit more isolated. Men in a shed. Did you mean like a gaming club, mate? Gene was saying, I would suggest getting terrain fight with someone like Luke either. But as content goes on an occasional project from a new perspective, variety more opens things up. Yeah, I know where my strengths are, and terrain building's not my strength. That's kind of, I'll leave that to the terrain builders. David says, Night Incanter's built. Time for the Lord of Contagion to get going. John Francis in. Good evening, mate. He says, you may be a broken record, but still a better watch than the EastEnders. High praise indeed. Thank you very much, John. Christian's in there just to join the BlackJack Legacy Facebook community if you haven't already. Yes, if anybody isn't a member of the Facebook group, please do come over. We've got about 700 and something members in there now. It's always good to see what people are up to. Many, many different games, systems that get played and get painted. So it's always nice to see what people are up to in the community. Tony says, do you have anything on your shopping list for Adepticon? I'm going to look at Code 1. I'm potentially looking at some of the Relic Blade stuff. I may also try and see if I can maybe pick up Marvel Crisis Protocol if it's a decent price. Who knows? Who knows? I've not spent anything this year so far, so I've took a little bit of pocket money aside for my visit over there. So we'll see how it goes. I do have a case to kind of bring back. I've got to just make sure I don't put too much in it. Where are we at? Gary Hollandale saying, have you seen the Walking Omnibus Mantica release? And looks awesome. All rules for All Out War, Call to Arms, and Here's Negan, as well as new scenarios for all three and rules to use Rick and Co. I haven't seen it yet, mate, but I did hear that they were having that. There was like an omnibus type thing, like an annual thing coming out. I think it's a good idea. Just breathes a bit more life into that game, because it's got a really it's got a loyal fan base. But I don't see so many people picking it up these days, unfortunately. I'm sure they probably do, but like just within our kind of small community, Stephen saying Bushido's an amazing game, can't recommend it highly enough. There you go. There's praise indeed for Bushido. Like I say, I've heard lots of good things about it, but not actually had a chance to play it yet. David saying, I wonder if bat reps and product reviews are the best way to get that free swag. I'm not that fussed about getting free stuff, if I'm honest. I've been very kind of vocal about how I want this channel kind of to be funded. I don't want to be kind of to feel like I have to be nice to people just for the sake of making sure I get free stuff. There's a term called pleasant for plastic, which often gets kind of thrown at YouTube as people who review stuff and everything's brilliant because they get it for free. And as long as they keep saying nice things, they keep getting free stuff. I intentionally don't want to go down that route. I'd rather pay for it myself. But if it gets to a point where companies would like to feature it on the channel, then maybe I'll start to look at it. But I'm not going to kind of go begging for stuff, if you like. Christian's also putting a link up there to the Slow Grow campaign, saying there's still time to get involved in it. There is still time to get involved in it. At the end of the day, this is around trying to motivate you to paint 2,000 points of a Kings of War army. Just because you haven't started yet doesn't mean that you can't start now. Like you'll be, if you paint some of the bigger monsters, you'll catch up pretty quickly, to be fair. So yeah, please do still get involved in that, something that's of interest to you. Gene saying TT Combat looks great and is a bargain. I'm using a bunch of it myself. It's always a very a good deal when you see them at places like UK Games Expo and stuff. It's worth kind of having a look out for some of the deals they do. Dirk saying his join request is pending. After the show, mate, I'll make sure I put that through. There's only me approves them, so it'll be sitting waiting with me. Kieran says, second question, favourite hobby tool or tools? Ooh, interesting. Favourite hobby tool or tools? I don't use those kind of painting handles from GW. I just find I don't find them any better really than using a cork. I've got like sort of champagne corks. Not that I drink champagne, they're just being fizzy wine, but like a champagne cork with super glued to like an MDF circular base, or a 40mm base, and just loads of blue tack on top. And I tend to use them, to be fair. They're just kind of nice and comfortable in my hands. So I don't use that kind of stuff. What would I say my favourite probably tool was? I've been quite impressed with the GW kind of mold line remover tool. It felt like it was a bit of a joke really until I tried one, and I realised how good they were. So that would be up there, I would say. Anything else? Anything else I use? Probably my airbrush, just because I enjoy it. I think I enjoy using an airbrush. There's something nice about seeing that kind of thin layers of paint building up. Where are we at now? Let's have a look. Ben Davies says, good morning from Melbourne. Hello, Ben. How you doing? Sitting at his desk trying to look like I'm working hard rather than hardly working. I have been there, mate, many, many times. Andrew Pierce says, hey there, Andy. Hope you're well. Finally managed to catch a live stream. Thank you for coming in, Andrew. Hope you're enjoying it. He's been getting his 9-year-old daughter into tabletop gaming via good old Harry Potter. We play the Harry Potter miniatures game. And I was just about to say about Funkiverse, and I've just seen we're loving the Funkiverse series. I was just going to say that's probably another good shout as well, the Funkiverse stuff. Those kind of games, like licensed games and stuff, are a great way to get kind of like younger gamers or non-gamers involved in this kind of stuff. If it's an IP that they love, if they love the Harry Potter books or the Harry Potter movies or whatever, what better way than just like, well, we can play a game together kind of thing. Yeah, it's brilliant. Scott saying he ain't played Bushido but wouldn't mind playing it. Personally love Test of Honor. Oh, my little boy's crying. Just give me 2 minutes, I'll be right back. And I'm back. You kind of stopped as soon as I got there, to be fair. Let's have a look where we're up to. We just talked about Bushido there, weren't we? Test of Honor, is it Test of Honor I've played? Yes, I've had a demo of Test of Honor a while ago when I was down at, what's it called? Asgard War Games in Middlesbrough, and I really enjoyed that actually. But I don't think it's... Is it still supported now? I think Warlord gave it up, didn't he? Where are we at? Andrew Pierce has just signed up to your monthly Patreon campaign to say thank you for your videos, dude. Thank you very much, mate. That's much appreciated. Tony saying Kings of War, yeah, never too late to get involved. That's exactly it. David says, I like the high torque of the GW mold line remover. That's very precise. It is a really good tool, actually. It's one of them things where you look at it and you think, nah, there's no way that can do what they say it does. It's just a bit of metal, but actually it's really cool. Mark's saying for painting, is his paintbrush. Painting minutes with my fingers doesn't look so good. To be fair, some of my painting, mate, my fingers would have made a better job. John says, best tool, a wet palette. I've made wet palettes, and I've tried to use them and stuff. I think I'm just kind of stuck in my ways. I should really try and use them more often, I think. I should. Scott's saying you should go down the 3D printing route for adding details to MDF terrain. I'm so tempted to go down 3D printing route, mate. I know you're kind of big into 3D printing. Christian's kind of been leading the way recently as well. He's just bought one of the, is it the Elgu Mars, I think it is, the resin ones. I'm dead tempted. Like maybe like I don't know, maybe like as a birthday or a Christmas present or something like that. It might be quite a nice thing maybe later in the year. Who knows? Who knows? Lee says, as a follow up to your question in the Facebook group the other day, what's your favourite game mechanic? Interesting, mate. So there's a few things I like. I like the bolt action dice mechanic of kind of random, like sort of random order of who activates. I really like that, and I think it's kind of underused. I'd like to see it in more games. I like the power dice mechanic in Vanguard, the way you have a pool of power dice depending upon which models are in your army, and you roll them, which gives you a number of abilities to be able to use each turn, and you can use them to kind of if you fatigue your model by pushing them a bit hard, you can use one of those power dice to kind of sort of give them a bit of respite. I quite like that mechanic as well. And what was the other one I was thinking? There was just something on my mind there as well. Oh, that was it. I quite like the Infinity kind of the ARO, the automatic reaction order. I like the fact that it's not just a case of I'm going to move all my stuff and I'm going to shoot at you, and then you can move all your stuff and then you can shoot at me. It makes it feel a bit more cinematic, and it makes you think about your movement. You even just running between kind of like two buildings, if you like. There's not a lot of games that really factor that in. So I would say those three are probably the ones that I've enjoyed the most. I'm sure there's loads more out there that kind of just don't spring to mind at the moment. But yeah, I think those are probably the ones, mate. Scott saying his 6-year-old loves playing Tanks and Flames of War. Tanks is an awesome game, especially the price point of an entry. It's kind of like X-Wing with tanks in it. Hence the name Tanks. John France says, new games I'm looking forward to. Storm Cinder minis are stunning. I've seen they're getting pushed really hard on tabletop and Beast of War at the minute, and they've almost done a video every day on those ones, so they're obviously paying through the nose for that. But I think somebody told me that the shipping date for them is like years away or something. I'm sure I could have got that wrong, but I'm sure somebody said it was like 2022, was it? For those to be delivered. David Moffat said he played a few games of Operation Last Train. Don't think I know what that is, mate, but he's playing with a 6-year-old anyway. Scott saying, great for games are the main runners for Test of Honor now. They must have took that up now because Warlord used to distribute it, didn't they? But then I don't think they did when it went to like a second edition. Robert Zung saying he's pretty interested in Code 1. Have to keep my eye on it. I'll certainly be talking about it on this channel. It's a game I'm interested in. I've always said I'll talk about the stuff I'm interested in. So yeah, watch this channel. We'll have a bit more news on that when if certainly, to be fair, I've been emailing Corvus Belly just saying, have you got any information? I'd like to talk about it. I mentioned it on the live stream last week, and there was a lot of people said that they'd never heard of it. And I'd quite like to have more to talk about. So it was good to see something came out today. They said that they would basically send me something when they had it to send. I was surprised I saw that one from the Mayacast people today because it looked like a press release, but they tend to send me their press releases. But I didn't get anything about Code 1 yet. Kelly's saying I really like the Redgrass wet palette. There's a few people have told me that as well. I like the idea of a like mine's like it's in the other room at the minute. Mine's like a Tupperware thing. It doesn't look particularly nice. I like the idea of like a custom tool, like a custom wet palette, if you like. Maybe I might pick one up one day. Scott's saying his best tool is his 3D printer, and he's got the Elgu Mars as well. Everybody I know who's got one, I don't know anybody that says, "Oh, I wish I'd never bought that." That's the thing. Kelly saying, wish more games use the bolt action system also. Gives fog of war feel to games. I think it just stops people kind of gaming it a little bit, where it's like, well, I know it's my activation kind of thing. There's still each player still gets the same number of activations. There's just something about the way it's random. So you can plan for something. You can plan what you're going to do, but you don't know who gets to activate next. So you don't know whether they're going to come back at you before you get a chance to sort of execute your plan, if you like. I really like that. Mark saying, how much are Elgu Mars these days? Christian saying it's around £230 on Amazon. I tell you what, I remember when there were like thousands for that kind of stuff. David said he lives in Calgary. It's far too dry here not to use a wet palette. Yeah, maybe in the northeast of England, paint doesn't dry particularly very quickly here, mate. Maybe that's why I'm kind of just got used to not using them. Deep Red says, have a look at Oathmark's activation, and apparently each player takes turns to activate an individual unit based on the result of a dice roll. I like the idea of that, but as long as it doesn't slow the game down, I'm not a big fan of stuff that basically keeps interrupting the flow of the game. So it'd be interesting. Like, does that mean there's an initiative roll every time like somebody activates? I don't know enough about that. Scott's saying there, what was it? I just flash it on the screen there as well. Adrian Starkey pledged $5 via Patreon. Thank you very much, buddy. Much appreciated. Really do appreciate that support. Yeah, Scott's saying there, Warlord did, but the writer of Test on a set up his own company now. I knew there was some story in the background, mate, but I don't know a lot about it. Thomas is saying, actually, the guys at Grey for Now Games are the same ones who invented the game while they were working at Warlord. I didn't think there was anything to do with Warlord. I thought it was just that Warlord distributed it. Maybe I've got that story wrong then. David saying, Operation Last Train's a free by donation sci-fi bug hunt game by Joseph McCulloch. Donations go to save the children. That's really cool. It's nice to see some kind of like charity stuff in that. Joseph McCulloch is the Frostgrave guy, isn't he? Claudio's saying, Operation Last Train, very simple solo co-op sci-fi troop. When you were saying bug hunt there, I instantly thought Starship Troopers. Man behind Frostgrave, yeah, but with optional donations. That's really cool, mate. It's nice to see something like that. It says in-game rescues and the rules. Neat idea. It's very simple, fun games. Got some old pics in your group. I'll have to go back and dig them out, mate. Have a look. We've got Carrie in as well. It says, evening, lads. Good evening, Carrie. How are you doing? Gene saying, best tool ever is difficult. For the recent gains in airbrush, I like cork figure holders too. Yeah, I see a lot of people using the Redgrass figure holders because they've got like longer handles. They look like they could be quite nice and comfortable, but I see Angel Heralda's used all the Redgrass stuff. But then to be fair, I think a lot of his stuff's all sponsored as well, or certainly donated to be used on the channel anyway. Scott said he paid $2.30 for his, and the resin he paid £29 for 1,000 ml. Like 1,000 milliliters of resin. What does that get you? Does it get you like a couple of small bits? Does it last like 6 months? I have no concept of that kind of stuff. Starkey's man cave says, right, if I win, I'll store it for you. Thank you, mate. Thank you. Peter saying, hobby update. He's finished assembling his glaive wraiths. Nicely done, my friend. Christian saying, if anyone is shopping on Amazon, please don't forget to use Andy's link. At the minute, it's set up for UK Amazon only. I'm struggling to get it to kind of work with them overseas stores as well. But yeah, just check it out. If you're shopping in the UK and you're buying something from Amazon, if you click through my affiliate link, which is in the description of all my videos, you just pay the same and I get a small commission. That's all it is. Yeah, Christian saying the markup, new boiler is definitely a priority. Can you 3D print a new boiler? That might work. You can 3D print a 3D printer these days, can't you? So who knows? Well, I must admit, folks, I'm quite surprised I've managed to keep rambling enough all the way through here and not really taking a breath. Excuse me. Tony says he'll stick with his screw top milk bottle tops and a bit of blue tack for mini holders. Yeah, I've used things like like the roll-on deodorants come in like they have like a screw-on cap, but and they kind of like shaped, which is a nice shape to kind of hold in your hand. I've tried using those as well, and just using the different caps, so having the miniature on the cap and then screwing the cap off, putting another cap onto the holder kind of thing, because obviously you can't stand them up upside down. I've tried using them, but it's just I keep finding that I just keep going back to using corks. I used to work at a wine company many years ago, so I have no shortage of corks. That's the thing. Peter saying there, it's quite difficult to hobby while freezing. I had the same problem last year. Yeah, this time of year the weather's not great, is it? The weather is not. The weather's not good. So yeah, that's definitely what you want to get fixed, mate. Al saying he ordered an army painter wet palette last month on Element, but it's been delayed. They're just new on the army painter wet palettes. Maybe are they out properly yet? I don't know a lot about them. I've not seen them. I've not used a lot of army painter stuff, if I'm honest. I've got a little bit of army painter stuff, But yeah, and I don't think I've ever used the army painted brushes. Christian uses a plastic shot glass from Poundland and blue tack for his paint handles. 10 handles for £1 is a good deal. Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. It's one of them things where it's like these GW spray stick things that you can buy as well around Christmas time and stuff, and the fact that they brought out that handle like in red as well, like that made it better kind of thing. Sometimes things that are designed to do the job really do work well and do exactly what you need. But sometimes you just get so used to using something like me and kind of corks on blue tack. You get so used to using them that, like for example, like some miniatures I've got where, especially kind of infinity miniatures where I like to paint the base separately, I'll kind of pin the feet and I'll push the feet into the cork rather than using blue tack. So I'll push the pins into the cork. If I use blue tack, it would just kind of gunk up the bottom and stuff. To use the painting handle from GW, you have to have it on the base. So I guess it depends on how you work, I suppose, isn't it? Duffy Mikowski says I use poster putty in empty prescription medicine bottles. Yes. Christopher said he bought the paint handle. I like them. I don't. I think they're a good tool, but only if you paint your minis on the base. And I also don't like the way it grips the base, so you can't like paint around the rim of the base while it's in the holder. You have to do that last and kind of paint around it. I just find that if I'm doing any kind of like decorated base with bits of cork and stuff, it tends to get like knocked and stuff on those holders. I think they're good if you paint a certain way, and for me, I don't think I paint that way. Claudia saying, "Don't you paint faster if it's red?" Everything's faster when it's red. Al says, "I need a wet palette because the missus has the fire on and my paint is drying out like no one's business." Yeah, that'll do it as well. Like I must admit, that will do it. Steve says he doesn't use a paint handle, just hold the base of the model. I get cramp in my fingers if I do that. I was going to say I must be just getting old, but I think Steve, you must just have better fingers than me. That's what it must be. Tony saying I have the red grass mini holder that lets you turn the model with your thumb as you paint. Yeah, that's the one I've seen. It looks pretty decent. I wouldn't mind giving one a try. I think the problem is if I'm painting like say like a squad of 10 minis, I'll have 10 minis on 10 corks. I wouldn't want to have to keep switching them over. Like if I paint one and put it down to dry while I start painting the next one, I don't want to keep messing about with them, switching them over. That's why I think it works for me, to be fair. Deep Red said I glue my minis to clear acrylic, so I have to remove the intrinsic base and drill a 1mm hole in the mini to insert a length of brass rod, which is held in cork. That sounds like a lot of work, mate. Do you do everything on clear acrylic bases, do you? Christopher says, GW paint handles work well with my hands. Bothers my hands is a bit holding the minis. Yeah, I've seen these holders that have like a little kind of finger thing over the top, so something to kind of like steady your hand and rest your hand on. I wouldn't mind trying something like that just to see if it's any better. I find like as long as I'm kind of set in the right position, I can get kind of comfortable with a cork and like steady your hands together, brace your elbows down and stuff. Yeah, I'm also just thinking actually. So this table I'm on tonight is something I've been working on in the background. That's as much as I'll say. What I would say is it's the perfect painting height, just to kind of rest my elbows on and have my eye on it. Normally my painting tables are a bit lower, so I end up like hunching over. This is perfect. Just while I was doing that, it just suddenly dawned on me. Where we are. David saying, yeah, the final lap seems like it would be annoying on the GW holder. Yeah, it's just the fact that I would want to have 10 GW holders if I was going to use them, because what I don't want to do is to paint the model and then have to hold the model to then try and pull the spring grips out, to lift it out, to put the next one in. So I'd want 10 of them, and they're like a £5 each. It would cost me £50 for holders, and then it gets expensive, where I've got corks coming out my ears. Peter says, I never use any holding devices, just my hands, but they are very tiny. I've got sausage fingers, mate. That's the problem. They just get in the way. I couldn't play the piano, put it that way. Mark says, who does the best tufts for basing? I need some for my burrows and badgers. I tell you what, mate. You can certainly. Christian's given the link there to the Element Games link, which I would recommend. However, also check out Geek Game and the Luke's APS stuff. The bass tufts that he does are very, very good. So yeah, I'm not just trying to make money. I will recommend those. They're excellent. Tony's saying the red grass one uses blue tack on the top, not a grip like the GW ones. It's a weird kind of tack though, isn't it? So it means you still have to kind of pull the miniature off when you're done. I think they're great if you're painting one miniature, but if you're like army painting, if you like, that's where I think it gets a bit of a thing. Tony's saying working on my Infernox at the moment, square base, so a GW holder is of no use. Can you not use square bases in the GW ones? I didn't know that. But it's pinned at the moment, so you can lift it when you need to do the feet. Scott says, I'll print one for you, Andy, the figure holder you just mentioned. That would be awesome, mate. If you could do that, that would be fantastic. Thank you very much, mate. I will pay you in kindness for that. I'll buy you a coffee at work. David saying, I get the shakes without a holder of some sort. I wonder whether I used to get the shakes from all the coffee I used to drink. Since I've not had any coffee, I should probably get back into painting a bit more now. Steve says, I lie on my sword. Yeah, you've told me this before, mate. You lie down and paint. I told one of my mates who's a top painter and he almost passed out. You've told me this before and I completely forgot about that. I'm going to have to try that just to see what that's like. I can't imagine how that's... Does the paint not fall on you? Does it not drip off? Oh, that baffles me, that, mate. Glenn says, is there a model that you don't currently own but wish you did, Andy? Oh, maybe a Warlord Titan so I could sell it. But which model do I wish I owned? I don't know, if I'm honest. I don't know. I'll tell you which one probably. When I did on the Friday questions I do in the Facebook group, I asked a while ago, what's your favourite miniature of like any game, anything? And one of mine is there's a Skaven miniature. The one I showed is the one from Underworld, but there's another Skaven miniature, and I can't remember what it's called, but there's just something about the posing of this miniature that's almost triangular. The way it's kind of like leaning out and it's kind of perched up high. I'll try and find a picture of it and put it in the Facebook group. It's an old Skaven miniature, but there's just something about the way it's kind of perfectly posed that I really, really like about it. What I would say is, a long, long time ago when I used to play War Machine and Hordes, I really wanted the Mountain Troll for my Troll Bloods, and that they were like rocking horse poop at the time. You couldn't really get them for love nor money, and that was something I always wanted to paint for my Troll Bloods, and I never did. So yeah, bit of probably more nostalgia than a fantastic sculpt, if you like. Claudio's saying, Steve, if you wouldn't know that if you paint 500 models a year, I'd love it. There is that. Maybe we're all just doing it wrong. Maybe Steve's got the right idea. Ben says, I have the handles with a screw cap, sort of soft drink tops to stick to the minis, so I can then have 20 minis on caps and just change them over. Yeah, that's probably not another bad one as well. Scott's saying the model he always wanted was the Thunderhawk gunship, but it was way too expensive. Yes. Did they ever make one of those in plastic? Is this one of the? This was one of the Forge World ones, wasn't it? I don't think they ever did come to plastic. I like the kind of the Storm Ravens and stuff, and the what's it? The Space Wolves have got is it called like a Thunderhawk or something like that? No, that's the Thunderhawk's the one you're talking about. They've got the Space Wolves have one as well that I always like the look of that model as well, but I've never got round to painting one. Oh, and Mark saying, cheers guys, we'll check them out. Yeah, the stuff from Luke, he's got a few different basin tufts, and yeah, they are all really nice. Stormwolf, that's the one, fella, that's the one. I knew it was Storm something. But yeah, that model was always really nice as well. It was a bit square, but like Like, so from a purely aerodynamic point of view, I'm not sure how sort of well it would fly, but I like the look of it. Glenn says, any interest in Aeronautica Imperialis? Excuse me while I just shuffle on my chair. Lots of interest, mate, if I'm honest. I've been kind of watching it from afar. I intentionally didn't pick it up when it first came out because I really like the idea of it, but I thought, I wonder if it's just one of them games I'll buy and I'll do nothing with it. So I've kind of like stayed away from it, looking at it from afar to see if it's something that still kind of holds my interest. There's more stuff coming for it now. I think at some point I might pick that up. I do like the look of it, if I'm honest, and it's not like a competitive game. It's not the kind of game where I'm going to be going to tournaments for it. I don't think it looks like it just might be a bit of fun. So yeah, maybe it'll scratch my old X-wing itch. Peter says the original Thunderhawk in 40k scale was white metal. Then Forge World did them in resin. I can't even begin to imagine how heavy it was in white metal. Steve says he lies on his side, resting on his elbows next to his coffee table, which is a perfect height. 900 plus models in the last year. I'm painting like that at the moment. I can't lie on the sofa. Do you not get like bad back, mate? Have you not got like sort of like joint issues or back pain or anything like that? It sounds like it's wrong. Duffy says, is the video out of focus for anyone else? It doesn't look out of focus to me, mate. I don't know whether it's, let me click. Oh, it has gone out of focus actually, but I think that is it a streaming thing? I caught, for some reason it's clicked me down to a lower resolution, mate. So try clicking you know, if you look, there'll be a little kind of like a cog at the bottom of the screen. I think it's just a resolution thing, mate. Christian says, I'd love to get some of Luke's stuff. Every time I go to his store, the bits I want aren't in stock and you can't back order. I didn't know that, mate. I've not ordered a lot of stuff from him, to be fair. I think maybe some of it's just with him moving to the new premises at the minute. Maybe it's just till he gets set up, because I know that they're moving to a new factory in Wakefield now. Lee says to Steve, my elbow is aching at the very thought of it. Yeah, me too. I sometimes get like cramp just lying on the sofa watching the telly. That's how unfit I am. Scott says, I'm actually heading to Newcastle Warlords for the first time on Thursday. You'll enjoy it, mate. It's a good gaming group. Thursdays have always traditionally been a really bad day for me because I tend to either be away with work or my wife tends to be away with work, so I'm at home with the little one. So I've always struggled to get to Warlords on a Thursday. And unfortunately, the guys that play Battle Bunker as well also play there on a Thursday when they play Kings of War. So I struggle to make gaming nights, if I'm honest. But yeah, at some point, hopefully, I'll be able to make the odd one. Richard says, I have a mini vise off Thingiverse for while I'm painting single minis. It has several finger rests because I always used to sit my index finger on the mini's head. Got sick of rubbing paint off. Yeah, that was why I was thinking about the little kind of grip things and that to see what they're like. John France says it's not out of focus but buffering, just the video audio is okay. Yeah, I think it's just for some reason I checked on mine as well and it switched me over to like 100 and what's the resolution, 144p or something. Yeah, really low resolution quality. I don't know why it did that. I'm looking. I've got all like the data in the corner here as well that tells me how streaming is, and it's not dropped any frames or any of that kind of stuff. Maybe it's just YouTube playing funny buggers. David says, time to pick a kid up from school. Thanks for the show. Take care. Thanks for coming in, David. Much appreciated. Al says, I tried to order a few bits that were out of stock on Geek Gaming. Message Luke and he said they'd be restocked after the move. Yeah, maybe that's what it is, mate. And Duffy says he's checked it and it appears to be on his end fixed. And Scott says, that's what I'm going to print for you. Thanks, buddy. I really do appreciate that. Tony said, I get cramp just thinking about sitting on the sofa while contemplating getting up in the morning. We should just change the name of this stream to just like old men moaning about pains in the back. Oh my god. Yeah, I had a motorbike accident years ago when I was a bit younger, and I've got a spot on my back which basically has got like nerve damage, and I don't have any kind of like, I don't have any feeling in this patch in my back, but my back's been really weak ever since. So like I've got to be really careful with my back. So yeah, like lying in funny positions on the sofa or sitting hunched at a desk and stuff like that for long periods of time, I really start to kind of feel it by the end of the day. So yeah, I try to make sure I get myself in the best position I can. So then, folks, we're doing all right. We're coming up to 25 past. That's not too bad for a bit of a random ramble. We've had some decent numbers in tonight as well. Of what we've been doing. We've got like 55, 56 people in at the minute. I think it was over 60 odd before when I checked. That's not too bad for a bit of a last minute thing. Like I said, I mean, I was plugging in microphones like 10 minutes before the chat started tonight. It took I'm not even going to show you a picture of what it looks like from this side of the camera. There's cables everywhere. Everything's just kind of thrown together as a bit of a last minute thing for tonight. So I'm really pleased everybody came in and joined the chat. I think when we've got a topic to talk about, these chats can kind of they can take a bit more of a meandering turn, if you like, and there's something to focus on. Sometimes when we just do these ramble ones, if the chat's quiet, it's quite tough for me to try and keep the thing going. But you folks have really pulled it out the bag tonight. Give me loads to talk about, kept me rambling. So yeah, thank you very much, every single one of you. Scott saying it's been a good chat tonight. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for coming in, mate. Really do appreciate it. Ben says he's just been looking at Element Games GW prices, and they are less than half the price we have to pay in Australia. Do you know what it is, Ben? I wish there was a legal way I could set up shipping to the US. I suppose there is. You sell them second hand, don't you? But they're brand new. That's how people get round it. You can sell second hand miniatures anywhere you want. So if I bought them from somewhere and sold them to the US, sold them to Australia, that's how you get round it, isn't it? Duffy saying the chiropractor has helped my back adventures. Mark saying great chat tonight, enjoyed it. Thank you very much, Mark. Ben saying coming back to the UK for the first time in 10 years in a couple of weeks. Better start ordering. Yeah, fill that case, mate. You could probably pay for your flights with stuff that you took back. Lizzie says we seem to be doing a version of Simon Says at the moment. Andy says revisiting games as they appear on the stream. Played Vanguard last week and Kill Team next week. That's it, man. It's that kind of like that. What's the word I'm looking for? Psychic connection. That was what I was looking for. Kelly says, "Have a good night. I got to head off. Thanks for coming in, Kelly. Much appreciated." Warforge is saying hi. Robert Zunk saying, "Yeah, all men moaning. My wife would agree. I moan a lot." Palmsy says, "Have a good week, all." Peter says, "Andy is the master of rambling on and on and on." Tell me about him, mate. I'm sure my wife would agree with you as well. Lisa's just got to duck out early tonight, I'm afraid. Cheers all. Been an interesting stream and chat. Thank you very much. Glenn saying, great chat. Thank you. Scott saying, busy painting his Vanguard warband for the league in April. Yeah, I was tempted to join myself, but I knew I wouldn't be able to make it often enough, mate, to be honest. And Robert saying, yes, good chat. Everyone have a good week. And Palmsy's having a wave there as well. So I think, folks, with that, we'll call it a night. I'd like to say thanks to Adrian for who's just joined the Patreon group tonight as well. If you can't find a link to the Discord group, just drop me a message and I'll give you a link to that. But you should be able to find it. And VJ, you get yourself over that bug, buddy. And Claudio, congrats on painting your first mini since December, mate. I know you've been in a bit of a slump, so good to see it. Chris is saying thanks for the show. Thank you for coming in, Chris. It's much appreciated having you folks in the chat tonight. So, I will see you all in next Monday's live stream when I'll have had time to prep stuff and we'll have a good meaty topic and plenty to talk about. So I will see you all next week.